Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. And this video is to bring you a closer look at the Transatlantic part number ED-501. This is their standard, common, ubiquitous, excellent, high quality, dependable exit device. Inexpensive as well. This is their mainstay exit device that I have sold an uncountable number of these, and it's because people prefer them. They like them. They enjoy how robust and predictable and reliable the operation is. They're inexpensive. If you're a contractor looking to deliver a good quality product to a moderately volume type of application for your user, your client, or if you're an end user, or you're a property developer, you might do strip malls, things of that nature, this transatlantic exit device is phenomenal. I've sold this to countless restaurant owners who put it on their back door. Well, it's required by code, and it's just superb. They love it. It's a great device. It's hard to make an argument against it in the sense of why you wouldn't buy it. You wouldn't buy it if you needed something that was going to take a sort of volume that would be completely outrageously high to expect something like this to be able to handle, even though this is considered grade 1. That's a million cycle. You wouldn't want this if it was something you were going to have to continue to rebuild, things of that nature. But outside of that small little slice of a different client base where your application calls for something this is not meant to do, that's a great device. I would not. I would strongly suggest that you take a long look at this device before you decided on another. I'm going to remove it from its components, or from its packaging. And we're going to go over the visual tour of the item. I'm going to continue to talk about my experience with this transatlantic device. We're going to go over the installation instructions. So here it is. This is the aluminum finish, modern style exit device. Okay. Small, petite, narrow head case on this. That's going to allow you to have a very nice, clean looking installation. You can see the fit and finish on the case is excellent. This aluminum finish on here is phenomenal. This is called a rim device, and a rim device is typically just, is the common device. Surface mounted with a latch bolt sticking out of the edge. Speaking of the latch bolt, it's completely non-handed. This deadlocking tab can simply be on the bottom. It doesn't matter. When the strike is properly installed, and we'll go over that in a moment, that cannot be tampered with. Not that it can be tampered with anyway on an exit device sort of application, because you can't get to the latch bolt, certainly in a single door installation. If it's a double door, you could get to that a little bit differently. But that deadlocking tab there is there to prevent tampering. The ED-501, suitable for all doors, aluminum, hollow metal, wood. Really what you're looking to make sure is that you can physically get this attached if it's an aluminum door. I would think you're going to need a medium style because your strike is going to take a certain dimension. And we're going to go over that in the installation instructions in a moment. Appropriate for all heavy-duty commercial and industrial applications. This is for doors up to 3 foot wide. Has a manufacturer's 1-year warranty, UL listed, meets the requirements for a 161 cylindrical lock prep. And what that means, and I'm reading from the extended description, if you have a door that has a typical 2 1/8 hole in it, what we would call a 161, the diameter of that hole is going to be just completely covered by the back side of this case. Just covered. It's not going to cover it excessively, but it does cover it, and is made to be used for stock hollow metal doors that have that 2 1/8, where you have an outside trim, and that back set, the distance from the from the face of the stop, or from the stop itself to the center line of the hole, is 2 3/4, and the trim that you would get, key and knob, key and lever, passage function, is compatible. This device is meant for a 2 3/4 back set for a single door. Dead latching, we discussed that. It is non-handed, we discussed that. This can be dogged, which technically means this cannot be used on a fire-rated door. Technically, not technically. If you have a fire-rated door, this device is inappropriate. It's incorrect. You can't dog a device, meaning that you will push the pad in, retract the latch, and then insert the included hex key, turn that so many degree clockwise, and it will hold the latch back. Now, why would you want dogging? Well, if it was an exterior door, not fire-rated, let's say you had a body shop or a repair shop, a mechanic shop. You are going to come to work as the owner, you're going to dog your device open so that your clients can come in all day long. Just pull the door open. Don't have to turn the trim or whatever. And then at night you can reverse that dogging and lock the door. That's a preferred way to go about doing it if you can tolerate your door physically not being latched, because it significantly, it brings to zero the wear and tear on the device is the bottom line. You're not actually, cycling the device all those times. So a lot of people will dog them open. But you can't have it on a fire-rated door. Just keep that in mind. If you need a fire-rated device, no problem. Transatlantic has the same device that's fire-rated, carries that certification, and then, of course, there's no dogging on it at all. Easy installation, that's even an overstatement. It's super simple to install. You're going to remove the head case. You've got your holes that are back here. You're just going to screw that to the door. Then your end cap, which we're going to show in a moment, that gets attached, the plate gets attached to the door. This slips in behind it. Then your decorative cover comes right over it. Minimum working parts, that is seriously true. There's not much in here but a spring and a mechanism by which to retract that latch bolt as you push it back. Now, the only time I've had one of these fail at the time of installation, I was in disbelief when the client called and said, your device broke. I just delivered it to you 2 hours ago. How could that have happened? Well, went to the job site to learn to find out that the gentleman had welded it to the door. He put up about 2,000 degrees onto the head case, and he destroyed the spring that was in it. So he bought a new device, is the bottom line. Outside of that scenario, I've had no failure of this device in that sort of situation. This is, again, classified as grade 1, and all of the other details that that are below in the product information we've already covered. Let me show you the rest of the parts. And it's simple. This is all that you're going to get. Now, it is common and standard for Transatlantic to supply a couple of filler plates. In my opinion, these are not specifically listed as included. The ASA 4 7/8 filler, and then a 2 1/8 inch edge, a 2 1/4 by 1 1/8 edge filler for the edge of the door. If you're using a stock hollow metal door with a 161 trap, these are included. They always are with Transatlantic. It's not listed. What I'm trying to say is, if you know that you need these plates, you might want to order them because they don't. There are times when I've seen them not included. Is what I'm trying to drive at. The rest of the material is very simple, very straightforward. You're going to get a strike. That's very common. That's a roller strike that's going to mount right to the frame. Okay. You're going to get an end cap, and that end cap features this plate. You'll remove these 2 screws. This plate will come out. The plate you will attach to the face of the door. You can see how this area here is raised. Well, the back side of the device is going to literally connect into it, just like I had said earlier. So this plate gets removed, attached to the door, this gets pushed onto it, and then the black end cap goes on using these 2 same screws onto this zinc dichromate plate that's here. A rust prohibitive sort of coating on that item. Very simple. The final thing is a package of screws on that hex cap. So, pardon me, that hex key. That hex key's for the dogging. You're going to get screws to hold everything else on, including the strike, and you're going to get flathead screws for that. And there should be 3 of them in there. There are. You're going to install the strike with these 2 screws so that you can do any sort of adjusting, then put your 3rd and final screw through this hole. These round head screws are indeed for the head case, and they are going to go in these 4 holes that you see here. This screw here, all you have to do is to remove those 2 and the 2 on the edge, you know, push this in, your head case will literally come off. You'll get right to the under workings of this and be able to attach it. If you're using a stock hollow metal door, you're going to probably want to, it will be in your best interest if you through bolted the device, meaning your hollow metal door is not properly, likely not properly reinforced for you to drill and then tap the threads, which is the preferred method. In the absence of being able to drill and tap, you will want to through bolt it or sex bolt it. We can sell you the sex bolts for doing that. They are not included with this sort of package. Admittedly, the majority of installers do not do that. They just get some screws, or they'll use some self-drilling tech screws and just zip it in. It's not the way to do it. It's a point of potential failure, and sooner or later that method of installation will become a maintenance problem. The thickness of the steel, let's say it's 18 gauge hollow metal door, or let's say it's even 16 gauge, that's insufficient to drill and tap to. Anyway, sex bolts are always preferred, and if it's a fire-rated door, that's probably going to be required. Now, we are going to get to the installation instructions at this point and view all of that material. Here we go. Okay, now the installation instructions. There is a link below this video, and what you're going to see there now is a reference to the on page 1, and they might look a little bit different than the device that come, or the instructions that come with the device, but not to worry. It's simple and straightforward. They're referring you to a center line from the bottom of the door, or I should say, yeah, from the floor to the center line of the device. 40 and 5/16 is very common. The reason that you're given that from the bottom is that it doesn't matter if you have a 6/8, 7/0, 8/0, 9/0, a 10-foot tall door, whatever it might be. The floor dimension is always the same, and that dimension is a handicap compliant sort of height. Handicap compliant, no problem at all. You might want to take, if you're drilling a hole for an exterior trim, you might want to audit the rest of the locks that you have on the site to make sure that you're drilling a hole that will match everything else. You don't want to be 3 inches off. Someone might say that looks different, and then you don't. Then that could be unusual. 2 3/4 back set, that's just what you're going to use for a single door. There's no question about that. A double door is going to be different. We'll talk about that. Let's talk about it now so that I don't forget. If you're doing a double door, you're going to need to order a different strike for this. And I'm going to attempt to quickly find that. Okay, I have been able to find that. That part number is TA-ED-PS09. So search for ED-PS09. Yeah, that is indeed it. ED Echo Delta PS Papa Sierra 09. That will bring you to what we call the overlapping strike, and that is intended for a pair of doors. When you get all of that put together, if you're doing a double door, immediately order that that overlapping strike, and you will be able to get that with your device. Install both of them onto the door. Margin your back set so that everything works correctly. Working off of any pre-drill hole that you might have. If you already have a 2 3/4 back set on your active door, you're going to need to locate that strike in a commiserate location, is the bottom line. If you're doing a double door, the only thing you have to do is buy that double door strike. It's obviously not included. 2 3/4 back set, 2 1/8 diameter hole if you're using any of the transatlantic exit device trim, which you would want to do only if you're doing that, only because the location of these holes, it'd be easier if you were using trim that bolted up to the same footprint of these holes rather than having to make that work kind of thing. If you're doing nothing other than a pull handle and a rim cylinder, you're good. You don't really need anything. Well, you certainly would need that 2 1/8 inch hole. But if you already have a hole drilled and all you want is a rim cylinder, reach out to us. We can help you with an adapter plate to make all that work. You have a reference to the strike installation. The center line of that strike is going to need to be commiserate with the center line of where you're installing the device, accounting for, they're referring to the floor line. So that dimension from the floor to the center of each is the same. If you're measuring off the bottom of the door to the center line, that's different than the floor device as well. If the frame has a 5/8 projection stop, which is industry standard for hollow metal frames, you're in good shape. If you have a 1/2 of an inch stop, you're going to want to account for that by adjusting based on the reference to the template that's there. What that means is the backside of the device needs to change if the projection of your stop is different. Let's say a wood frame, you know, that sort of situation. An aluminum frame is probably going to require some adjustment. It certainly would require some adjustment as well. That is referred to on the template, which is buried down in these instructions, page 7 or so, and you can see how that line changes. So keep that in mind. The rest of page 1, moving to page 2, shows typical installation. Nothing of note there. Getting into different exit devices, cutting the door if needed. Bar and overall correct size for a 3-foot door. You may not need to trim it down. It's possible that you will. What I'm not seeing is how much you can trim this down. So you're very likely going to need to trim the device down. Let's take a look. They want the door width minus 4 inch. No, this is going to be out of the box, ready to go for a 3-foot door. If you have a 3-foot hollow metal door, this is good. You're going to be able to take this down. You can safely cut this down 6 inch. So anything below a 2'6" door, we're going to want to get real close. I don't believe it's going to will go onto a 2'8" door. 2'8's probably going to be trouble if you are going to attempt to mount this on a 2'8" door. Pardon me, I'm saying that wrong. 2'4", 2'4", a 28-inch door. That could be trouble because there's not enough room left over, and they're not giving that minimum dimension that I can see. But installing an exit device onto a 2-foot door, a 2'4" door, is very uncommon. You know, doors are, you know, especially for exit code, are really never that small, so I wouldn't be too worried about running into that. Although 2'6" is not uncommon. Certainly 2'8", 2'10". You're just going to get back here with a hacksaw, carefully and cleanly cut all of this. You shouldn't have to remove this channel, but you can should you have to. And then the installation instructions, you know, show you different trim, really. This is a very unique sort of device in the sense that it will work in lots of applications. You know, if you can physically get it installed onto the door, you're in good shape. The code states that the door exit device must be 75% of the width of the door. This device certainly complies with that sort of requirement. If your door is larger than 3 foot, order the 4-foot version of this and then trim the end case down to compensate. You don't want to use a 3-foot device on a 4-foot door because it's technically not wide enough. It has to cover 75% of the width of the door. There is also a link below this video to what's called a product brochure. It's just an overview of this device and the series of other items that you'll find from Transatlantic. Now, finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up their full-line product catalog and review all things hardware related from Transatlantic. I'm partial to Transatlantic, and it's partly because there's a bit of sentimentality involved. I've been distributing their products for many years, and the reason is, well, there's a bit of familiarity just with part numbers, but the fact of the matter is, when it comes to, and here's where, if you are a subcontractor doing a door package for a client, you're providing doors, frames, hardware, or you're a developer doing a strip mall, something that's just tenant build out sort of work, nothing fancy, it's all just, you know, right off the blueprints, where you're going to want to pay attention here is in this. If you're looking for excellent hinges, door closers, lock sets, and exit devices, Transatlantic could very likely be your preferred brand. I personally have had next to zero failure on their material, and incredibly fair prices. And sure, it's all imported, but the truth of the matter is it just fills a need in the marketplace, and it does so with superior performance. It's hard to argue that. The material is easy to work on, easy to understand, easy to install, easy to troubleshoot, and you'd have to look long to really improve on that. When you consider the price, I'm tempted to say that you won't be able to easily improve on that. If you have any questions on the Transatlantic ED-501 exit device, which is available, I should say, this is obviously aluminum. You can get it in dark bronze, and you can even get it in a stainless steel finish as well. Or any other Transatlantic product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.